Hello, my name is Mardi Smouha. I work as a resourcing business partner at Eversheds. I've been with Eversheds 5 years now, and I look after partner recruitment as well as our recruitment projects. With diversity, there's so many areas that any company can look at to focus their attention. At Eversheds, we've looked across a number of different streams: female talent, LGBT, disability, and we've been working a lot in these particular areas because there's a lot of room for improvement for us. For females, we probably have about 60% female talent within the company, but as you progress through the career ranks at Eversheds, it drops off, and at female partner level is probably about 24%. So we've been focusing on this, and this is an improved statistic for us. However, there's still more to do. For LGBT, this is quite an accepted area of diversity. I think across the workforce, certainly within the UK, it's widely acknowledged, and people are more comfortable talking about whether they are lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender. With disability, there's more work that can be done in this area because people still have a lot of fear around getting it wrong. So our focus on recruitment has been looking at the steps that we can take to remove barriers for people with disability so that they have as much access to careers in law as others. So over the last 3 years, we've done a number of different things, and the success story really is somebody like John Craig, who is the Internal Disability Employee Network Chair. John has a disability, but it's not a visible disability, so he could quite easily do his job without talking about what disability he lives with or affects how he approaches each day. The good news is that John felt comfortable talking about his disability at the point of recruitment and disclosing that to his line manager, and being able to have adjustments put in place for his working pattern at Eversheds. That should be the story for every candidate. When they're going through a recruitment process, every candidate should feel if they have a disability and they need to discuss it or would like support and would like to discuss it, they have the ability and should not be afraid of doing that. I think part of the fear is that they will get a bad reaction if they're talking about it with a line manager, and that is something that we have the ability to change. In the recruitment industry, through education, through training, through changing our recruitment processes, we can take away some of the things that make disclosing disability a big scary thing. Some of the changes that we have made at Eversheds have been simple, easy changes and have not been cost heavy, but we've had a lot of support to help us identify. About 3 years ago, we engaged with a company called the Clear Company to review our own processes with disability and to look at every stage of the recruitment process, from attraction with job descriptions, through the interview process, and through to the end stages where we're reporting and measuring how we attract and retain talent with disabilities. The Clear Company self-assessment process helped us to look at our own processes and to see areas where we were doing well, areas where we could do a bit better, and areas that we should really focus on now to make changes so that talent with disability did not face barriers when going through the recruitment process. As a result of that, changes that we've made have been as simple as putting a reasonable adjustment contact person onto our careers website. Having a name rather than a void that you can talk to if you need adjustments is something which makes the recruitment process a little bit more human for a candidate. Looking at our job descriptions, the wording on our descriptions, whether the wording itself was a barrier to people or if it needed to be updated, which we've done. We also went one step further to enable a candidate to feel comfortable, they need to know that an organisation or a company really understands. So on our careers page, we have a dedicated diversity and disability page. It talks about the internal employee network that we have to support people with disabilities or people who are caring for people with disability, as well as information about our internal employee network. We've included the awards and the industries that we work with from a disability perspective, so people can see that we're more about action, not just words. Over the last 5 years, we've looked at our recruitment statistics, and they're not great. There's room for improvement with those. They've broadly stayed the same. The good news is, from application through to hire, we're fairly consistent. There's not a big drop-off. However, there's still a very low percentage of people who would declare disability. Part of that is a lot of our hires may come through agency, and there's still a barrier there where candidates don't feel comfortable talking to agencies about disability. We know that maybe 1 in 3, 1 in 4 people during their life, during their working career, will be affected by disability. So to only have about 1% of people disclosing that they have a disability, we know that it's not right. It's factually incorrect. What we need to do is to make sure that the recruitment industry itself is opening up, facing the fear that they have of talking, or maybe getting it wrong when they are talking to people with disability, but acknowledging that we're doing everything we can to understand and to support and to see talent come through. Our diversity partners are really helping to understand what Eversheds needs to do to open up and remove barriers for people with disability, but to support us on that process, not just by identifying where a problem might exist, but helping us to know what the solution to that might be as well. So we're still on a journey. We're not there yet. We've made changes so that people with disability can feel comfortable talking with us, and we've got case studies to show that it does work, and people like John Craig are a great success story where disability does not mean that your career is limited. If more companies are doing the same thing, if more companies look at their recruitment processes and remove barriers for people with disability, we'll see a greater number of candidates in the workplace. It will help to address some of the candidate shortage that we're finding in the current work market, and it will also make changes, radical changes, to people who live with disability but feel as though careers in law and careers in other industries might be restricted because they live with a disability. It's not the case. Fear is the only thing which is stopping both the companies and the candidates from making steps forward in this area. One of the questions I was asked today was about reporting. We track our candidate applications through WCN, which is our applicant tracking system. So at the point that a candidate applies, they fill in a questionnaire and they can tick whichever diversity element may apply to them. This works for both candidates who apply directly to us, experienced hire, and graduate. And in addition to that, we have a questionnaire which goes out to any candidates that are submitted via an agency. So we can track the different routes and measure how effective our applicant sourcing is for people with disability. In addition to that, once people have joined Eversheds and have been hired, we have a new joiner form which again asks the same questions, but it lets them know that there are internal networks which might be relevant to help support them. So we ask it again at point of hire, and then on a yearly basis we have an annual report which goes around all of our employees and again ask the diversity questions, so we can track it throughout the career and throughout the job families or the levels of career that we have at Eversheds. This information goes to our champions for the different diversity streams. It goes through to our chairman for the steering committee for the diversity areas, and also the practice group heads and across the firm. The diversity information and the reporting of that is easily accessible throughout the company, and we can see how we're doing. This is how we've known there are areas for us to improve on and the areas we need to focus on to make a difference in the firm. Well, I was asked today as well about, has there been any resistance or any challenges for us to overcome? 3 years ago, when we started this in recruitment, I can honestly say no, I don't think there was any challenge to this at all. People are very supportive and understanding of the business case and the reasons that it's important to attract candidates from diverse backgrounds, and in particular for disability as well. For Eversheds to stay at the cutting edge of innovation, diversity is a no-brainer. You have to have diverse talent to be able to maintain the close client relationships and the innovative thinking that we badge ourselves on. The last question I was asked today was about hiring managers and our interview process. We don't have an HR person in the interview with our candidates, so it's the hiring manager who needs to know and understand about diversity and unconscious bias and disability. We rolled out unconscious bias training with our managers a number of years ago, and this is accessible for anybody within the firm. In addition to that, there's a new tool on the market called Clear Talents, and I think this is the way forward for candidates and for employers. It takes away the need for a candidate to discuss the disability and only focuses on what the reasonable adjustment is. Clear Talents provides the information for the line manager, for the recruiter, about what stage of the recruitment process an adjustment might be needed, and it also provides a report to the hiring manager to let them know what adjustments they might need to make if they're meeting the candidate in a face-to-face interview. It takes away the fear of discussing a disability, and it just leaves the reasonable adjustment, which every firm should be able to make. Most reasonable adjustments are very small, minor, achievable things. In some cases there may be bigger adjustments. However, with things like that, there's always someone you can ask, and companies should be anticipating these in any case.